But that summer it was just like me being in peace of who I am. And then me realizing, this is who I am. I'm done with like the college thing. I'm like, it turned out a good year academically wise because I studied so goddamn hard to get those goddamn straight A's. And so that happened, and then me finishing my community hours because you have to do that for our school, and finishing that whole community thing, the confirmation thing. And it was just like all these stressful things like finally left, like got off my back, and I was able to breathe in and relax, and then accept who it was, and then me talking about that with my friends too, because I don't think only like 2 of my friends really knew what I was. And so it was like, and so like, I don't know, I was in a way like I'm open about it, but I'm not gonna like be in a party. I'm like, hey, I'm bi, and there's just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, well, if we talk about sexuality, I'll definitely input my experiences about it, and during classroom time, or when we're watching all these things, I remember especially one time. There's a show called Legend of Korra, and then the show ended with a bisexual couple, and I was like, this is fucking beautiful, I love it. And that was senior year. Yeah, it was senior year, and so one of my friends, he loves Legend of Korra too, we were talking about the ending. He's like, yeah, it was pretty great how it ended. And then I was like, yeah, I'm like, good reputation for bisexual woman. I'm like, it's nice seeing that. I'm like, it's a breathtaker. And he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, as one, and I'm like, it's pretty great. And he's like, what? And I'm like, oh, as one, it's pretty nice seeing that representation. And he's like, oh, I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, just in case. I'm like, I'm just that. And it was and like that was it. Like it wasn't like we ended friendships after that, but like we still talked and everything. Like we didn't change who we were and how we talked. And so like I know people my age are very open, of course. And then like he went to San Francisco, which is also a very liberal place too. And so it was really nice about that, because no one really talks about sexuality in my community. It's a very taboo thing, apparently. And so, like, no one's really about it. And so that's just one of the things. But, like, I don't have that. For some reason, I don't want that to be, like, my main, who I am. For me, like, race is my main identity. And, like, if we're going to talk about something that I'm truly passionate about, it's going to be about my race. And especially during these tough times right now, and I'm like, if we're gonna talk about something that's really personal to me, race. I'm like, because race is everywhere. I'm like, and we are growing. I'm like, I come from a minority town, and people don't know that, and so stuff like that.
So you talk about race. I mean, like, you will concentrate your political politics into on race instead of sexuality, because it's more connected to like pragmatic issues, the world and everything. Why I think for you sexuality is kind of a self-acceptance to some extent.
It was more self-acceptance, and I like that. And then, but for some reason, race for me too. I didn't like identifying as Mexican because in the media that I grew up in, if you're born in the United States, you're automatically American. So I'm like, I'm American. That's who I am. And so when I was growing up in the Latino town, we all automatically knew we were all Mexican, and if you weren't Mexican, we know you were from a different place, and so like we didn't have to say like, oh, what are you? And then we'll say, oh, I'm Mexican. Oh, it's like, oh, I'm American. I'm born here. I'm a U.S. citizen, and all these things. And so like growing up, I kind of hated a lot of things about like the Mexican culture. Like, I didn't really like our music. I thought that was really weird for me. Like, I hate this music. I didn't like watching things in Spanish. I kind of completely forgot the Spanish because I had to learn English in 3rd grade. Because before 3rd grade, I would have bilingual classes. And then 2nd grade was mostly in Spanish. But in 3rd grade, it's like, you need English because you can't do these tests without it. And I was like, oh, well, gotta forget some Spanish then. But, like, I also try to speak it at home. But I'll speak to my parents in English, and then like it'll frustrate me when my parents need help because I'm like, you're in the United States, you've been living here for like 20 years. I'm like, how do you not know English? And so I'm like, you need to go to classes. I'm like, I'll teach you if I have to. I'm like, but you need to learn English. So I was very ignorant on that aspect of my parents, and so and I continued for a while too until high school too, because we weren't talking about social issues or anything like that. It was still the same thing. So I was still like very like, I'm American, you're American. Like you can't call me Mexican because for me, people who are Mexican were from there. And I'm like, and I'm not from there. I'm from here. I'm American. Or if you wanted me to call me Mexican, then I'm Mexican American. And so it wasn't until I came here and then I met people who were very proud of their Mexican culture. One of my friends, especially, like we were like pretty much on the same boat of everything, like 260, blah blah. But then, but she was very open about her Mexican heritage. She was very proud of it. She did all these traditional dances and things. She loves the music. She does all those things. Like she was very very proud of it. And so, and for me, I was like, why are you so proud of it? She's like, because that's who I am. Like that's my heritage and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's me too. But you don't see me like doing that. So there's that. And then coming here, when you meet people who aren't exposed to other races too. I remember when I went to Thanksgiving with my roommate and we went to like, because she's from here, so she's from the Midwest, and so her family was very white, and so her grandma was like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from California, I'm from here. And she's like, no, but what are you? I'm like, oh, I'm American. She's like, but what are you really? And so that's when I was like, I'm Mexican. Like my parents are from them. Like that's my ethnicity. I'm Mexican. And she's like, oh, okay. And so like coming to terms and things like that, small little microaggressions about like apparently me having an accent, which I didn't know I had, but apparently some people think I have an accent, or like it's obvious when I speak English that I have like an accent to like Spanish and things like that. And so like me coming to terms like that kind of thing, like I did have a very troubling debate with myself my first semester in freshman year about my identity as a Mexican American student, because even though like I was claimed as American, if you call me Latina, I was fine with it. Hispanic, I was fine with it. Chicana, I was fine with them. Like all these terms to refer to me, I was like, I'm cool with it. But me not learning about like, I did not know anything about like our history or like why it's important or like who we are and like who's like the Mexican Madonna and things like that, like very important things. And I was just like, that doesn't matter because I'm from here and like, and it's only important to learn about stuff here. So it wasn't until like I had these friends who were so passionate about who they were and how confident they were with their identity, and then me taking classes about like identity too, like you know, America's is considered like one of the melting pots of the world, and like there's so many different races and ethnicities and things like that, but people aren't really erasing it. And like what makes it so different is like people still hold on to their values and cultures. Sometimes they do assimilate, but they have little things that will continue onto that culture. And so I was like, oh, well, we have that for sure. And so I was having a very tough time trying to figure out like who I really was. And I'm like, am I really American? Am I Mexican? What am I? So that was a really like terminalist point. And it wasn't until like at the end of that semester. Not kind of at the end of the semester, I was more like self-accepting, like I'm Mexican too. And it was like really messed up of me saying like, why are my parents speaking English? I'm like, why? I'm like, they have the right to speak Spanish. I'm like, they have the right to listen to their music. They have the right to be proud of who they were. And that was during a bit of winter break. But when I came back again with my friends, and then me full on realizing like I'm from these two different worlds, and I've neglected the Mexican aspect of who I am. I'm like, and that's very terrible because I don't want to forget my roots. And I'm like, because I always like the notion of like, if I have kids, I'm like, I want them to know that they're Mexican too. And so I'm like, if I want to incorporate that in their life too, I'm like, I need to accept that aspect of my life. And I need to like come to terms like I need to learn more Spanish because, you know, that's our language, and I want my kids to speak Spanish too, and so stuff like that. So it wasn't until like pretty much the whole freshman year, and I was like, fuck, I'm Mexican too. And
it's like fighting another sauce to
reach
your personal identity.
Yeah, and so like I came to full on terms with who I am, and then it was in the summer for sure, and I was like, I want to learn how to cook, Mom. Like, show me how to cook Mexican food. I want to learn more about our culture. I'm like, I want to know more about stuff. And so I remember I asked my mom, and I'm like, I want a traditional Mexican shirt. And I'm like, I want one. And then for me, because that came out of the blue for my mom, she was like, what happened to you? Who changed you? And I was like, no. And I'm like, I'm completely the same. I just, I appreciate who we are more. I'm like, I just didn't know, like, how like, terrible it was for me to, like, cut off a huge part of my life. And then, like, and I kind of want to rekindle that. I'm like, I want to help grow that again. And I'm like, so I want to learn about this. So, like, I appreciate a lot more. Like, even though sometimes I hate the Spanish music, I'm like, I'll appreciate it more. And the traditional dancing of folklorico, like, I hated that. But now, like, I really like the idea of, like, my sisters doing them. Like, I want them to do stuff like that.
And real like this, not just forcing you to like it.
Yeah, and it's not like my mom forcing me or, like, my friends forcing me. It was me coming to the terms, like, I should do this for myself. I'm like, I think that it'll be really helpful if I try to, like, because even though I'm American, like, but I'm also Mexican, and I want to foster that different worlds into one thing, because those two create a different, community, and and I'm part of that community, and so I really, really want to do that. And so, like, that was another thing that especially helped me in Earlham, honestly. Because even though, like, I identify, like, with Latina, Chicana, all these things, some people might not, because Chicana was used as a derogatory word for people who are Mexican American, because there's that terrible, during the 70s, people who were second generation immigrants, they assimilated, so, like, they were freaking, so pretty much what I was doing, like, even though I didn't hate myself and hated my Mexican culture, I just didn't associate it with it, because I was like, there's no point, I'm in a different country where it's a different place. I'm like, why would I go to another thing that makes no sense to another thing? And so, like, it was used during that time, like, a very derogative word. And so, but, like, during the 90s, I think 90s and early 2000s, a lot of people were reclaiming it as a positive thing. And for instance, one of my friends, she hates the word Chicana. Like, she does not associate with it, even though, like, it does identify her. She's like, either you call me Latina or you call me Mexican or Mexican American, but you cannot call me Chicana, because that is not what I want to be identified as. And so, like, coming to terms with that, like, people didn't, like, even though we're all from the same background, stuff like that, people identify differently. Like, Hispanic also too, like, Hispanic can be used as a terrible, some people don't want to identify Hispanic, because it stems back to, like, when the conquistadores came, and, like, and then, forcing themselves into, like, the Spanish culture, and, like, and they're like, we're not Spanish, we're Mexican. We have indigenous roots as well, we have black roots as well. I'm like, and we need to identify, like, we are Latino or Mexican. So there's also that argument. And from, like, oh, well, for me, I accept all three. I'm like, I'm cool with it. But coming into, like, having this discussion as well with, like, with my club, so how a lot of people identify differently. It was, like, a really, like, an eye-opener of me learning more about, identity as such. Like, even though, like, identity sounds like a very simple thing, it's so complex. It's intersectionality. Like, we're all...
Intersectionality.
Yep. It all, like, no matter what, there's different layers of everything. And so it's just like, Jesus Christ. And I'm like, I feel like Earlham really helped me with that. And so so that's why sometimes I'll be like, it's a good thing I left California, because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be having these self-discoveries, because I would have still gone to, like, a predominantly, like, even though I would be in California, there's still, like, a lot of Latinos, and so I wouldn't have that issue in my freshman year, like, me trying to identify who I am and things like that. And so that was one of the things too, with that. And so because of that, me knowing who I am, I've been more passionate about, like, issues that's been going on, and especially after the new presidency. And then, like, I know for sure those are tough times, because, like, both my parents are undocumented, and I'm the oldest, and then my other sister's 17 and my other sister's 8, so that's already a very huge gap.